Okay, good morning. It's Rio, and it is Tuesday after our Monday night due date of our week 16, basically our last items before the project 2. And I didn't get many questions, so I am going to cover the questions I did get and just go over the concepts of generally how do you add a subpage and how does that link into your site in both Google Sites and in the Bootstrap option. So, and I noticed some of you are choosing sites and some of you are choosing Bootstrap, but again, it doesn't matter. And there was a question that if you use Google Sites, do you have to do anything with the Bootstrap? And the answer is no. You choose one path or the other. What I'll look at is really what you submit. So when we turn to the screen, I'll go over the change of the due date, which I'd mentioned, an opportunity I gave last week that some of you may have missed about doing the second lecture for week 16 and getting a item late graded, no points removed, which would most logically, if you didn't do it on time, be project 1. And if you did, then some other item. Okay, so we'll look at that, and then I'll go over the stuff I talked about. And I think that's about it. I intended to do this a little earlier, but I'm actually glad I waited to give you a chance to start thinking about this. And the one thing I heard in the feedback, which was mostly all positive, but and let me just say this about the feedback. I always do this and then I think about it afterwards. When you ask people to give feedback in an open forum like that, sometimes you don't get all the feedback because people are a little hesitant to provide that directly in concern of offending someone. So, but I did appreciate the feedback that I got. And one thing I heard consistently was about the whole Google Hangout thing. And what I'd like to say to you all is that today's Tuesday. You now have a week and a day to get project 2 done. There is absolutely an opportunity if you'd like to hang out virtually with me and ask questions, get some help on this project. You can do that. Obviously, you can come into my office hours and those will run normally as we do during this last week 17 of the semester. Next week, my availability is more flexible. So if you and the key is I ask you to contact me enough, give me a 24-hour heads up to say, hey, can we do this tomorrow? And then I'll, based on my requirements and my schedule, let you know if I can do that. Otherwise, we can negotiate a time in the next week for you to get what you need. As via Hangout, which I agree, I wish that had worked too. And going back, I could figure out why, but it just didn't. All right, so let's turn to it and look at the work we have to do. So first, looking at the calendar, if you didn't notice, I did move the project 2 to Wednesday night at midnight, which means I'll get up Thursday morning and grade and give you probably the rest of Thursday, and then I will post grades on Friday. Okay, so make sure any questions that you have about late work is asked at that point. And as I mentioned before, and let's actually just go ahead and click on it here. If you didn't catch this on the last lecture, I did give an opportunity. It was at the very bottom, as if you wanted to watch the second one, which was from the Chrome Developer Summit. You could do that to get one item late graded without points removed. And as I mentioned, the item you might want to think about if you didn't do it on time would be the project 1. And then you can also look at this as saying, well, if I did need it for that, what would I use it for? And the answer would be anything else, because the lectures, the hands-on, and the current topics all have the same percentage. So any item that you completed late and would like those points back, you can use it on that. Okay, so now let's look at project 2. Only thing I added today was I did add the point value. So this first, the chart, and I gave you an example that I covered last week, so I don't plan on covering this in more detail. These are the requirements as far as I like to see them color-coded with your different topic / and the top level would be your navigation and then your subpages. And then again, just give me a link into it so that I can see it. And it's very important, given the fact that I'm extending the due date, that you give me this correctly, because if I can't see it, I can't give you the points for it. So make sure that when you're sharing it, right, you can either share it with me directly. Okay, you can either share it like that with riowaller@gmail, or you can do the thing where you have anyone can view the link and then you give me a link. Okay, so whichever way you do it, make sure it's done correctly. That's why I wouldn't necessarily wait until the final night that it's allowed to be turned in to do that, in case you and I run into any challenges there, and most likely you, because all I'm doing is opening it. Okay, so that's worth 30 points, and then your actual site is worth 55 points, the bulk of this really. And again, I think I went over at least this concept last week. What I'd like to do this week is really do this concept of a subpage. Okay, so let's start. I'm going to start here. Here's my, where actually I was looking at some of yours, and there was good examples. I didn't see anything I would change necessarily about that. So first let me start with where I left off after I recorded and I added a little more content, right? So I do have my first topic, and then I have just some Latin characters here to show. So the question is, how would I then create a subpage here, right? So I'm going to open up my brackets, and I have topic 1 in here. And the first thing I do is I need to create that page, right? So in this case, file, I'm going to take, so let me be clear, I'm going to take this topic1.html, I'm going to do file, save as, and the reason I'm going to take the topic 1 is it has all the necessary things that I need. It's active on, well, let me go ahead and do it and then we'll talk about it. So I would say here, right, sub page, and I'm going to do 1 here, not because you need to do it, but just so that you understand what I'm doing, right? So this is just, so this would really be your topic, right? And remember, you want typically, you know, and we could talk about camel case and what's important, but you want something fairly short. And if you are going to uppercase, only uppercase the first letter and correct what we call camel case. Okay, so now this is your subpage 1, right? So and here we can come back and maybe even say, right, whatever your subpage topic would be, right? So now here is, and then we'll just do this, right? So this would be your topic, not your topic 1, but your subpage. Oh, I didn't put the sub on there. Subpage overview, whatever this, right, subpage / topic is. Okay, so that's that, and that's where you would write the content. Okay, so first I'll save that, but the question really came, and let me go back now, file, open. I'm going to go back to my, I have it actually on my USB here, and then, okay, I'm going to go back to topic 1, which is the file I started with before I copied it over, right? And the question is, how do I then link my subpage 1 from here? Well, you link it through your text, wherever in your text that you're talking about that, right? This is where we would say, I'm just going to put it on unknown, it doesn't matter, href equals, so in this case I'm using brackets. It actually helps me by trying to say, hey, which file are you going to link to? I'm going to link to some page 1. Okay, I'm going to end that. I think there was, I'm just going to put a link here. I don't remember what happened with the content that was in there. Okay, but that's the idea, is you just put your href. So I'm going to hit save here, and then I'm going to show you what this does. Okay, so I'm back here. I'm going to refresh this. I'm on my topic 1. Oh, here it is. Took me a minute. So now if okay, so there's one other thing I would do here. Sorry, before I actually show you that. On my subpage 1, what would be helpful too, I should have changed there. Oh, here it is. Is that it? I'm just looking. I'm gonna look again, because this is my topic 1, and topic 1 would link to, there we go, subpage. For a minute I couldn't figure out why the subpage topic wasn't coming out. As far as, now again, I haven't made a requirement how you have to do this. You get to do this however you want. You can even drop this Jumbotron altogether, but I don't think it's called Jumbotron. But so here's the reason I started with topic 1 as a page, right? And then I did a save as, created a new page called subpage 1. Then within the content, I would then link to your subpage topic 1. Okay, so I hope that helps you. So let's just turn to Google Sites now. I actually already have one I created, just topic 1, 2, and 3, right? And these are fairly straightforward. Let me actually go back though. Let me actually go back here. Okay, so here, and that other video I give you, I think will give you a starting point here to get going to create the sites. And so here you have topic 1, 2, and 3 and sitemap, which I could take away, no big deal. Okay, so let's say that same idea. Here I am on my subtopic 1, right? So then what I'd want to do is I'd actually want to here create a page. So when I create a page, then I could give it that name, right? Subpage 2 as an example. And the question would be where, and this is where you tell it where you want the page to be placed, right? Do you want it at the top level? So in this case, I actually want to put it under topic 1, okay? Because I'd already done this before. That's why I'm not calling it the same name, so don't let that throw you off, right? Or I can actually choose a different location if I wanted, if this one was going to be here. Now, it's not actually important, terribly important here, because you can link this. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so let's actually just I'm going to actually call it subpage 2 because I already have 1. I'll just put it here just so you can see this, and I'll go ahead and create it. Okay, so now just like before, creating it's one thing, and here's your content, right? What you really want, and the question was how do you link it then? I'm going to save this. I'm going to go back to page 1, okay, and then here I'm going to edit the page. Come back here. Now I already did a link here, but I'll just do another one showing you. Let's say this was, right, subpage 2. So I'm going to select this. I'm going to do insert, link, and somewhat like my brackets, it's actually asking me, what do you want to link? So I would say subpage 2, right? I'm going to click OK. So now on this particular page, subpage, I have a link to a subpage and I have a link to a different subpage. Okay, so I'm just showing you here the ways you could do it. Now, logically, right, so let's go back to this just to complete this thought. So when you're writing content, and even though I've set a number overall I want, you get to choose where you write this content. So if you choose to write more content at your top level, that's fine, as long as your overall number is what I'm looking for. But also remember what I talked about here, which is your main topic, right? And then what this depicts is that from this content we have direct links to these files. Okay, so in that page, so as an example, on this, let me get this is not mine. So on my topics, if I had, in this case, trying to depict what this would look like, I would have 3 links somewhere in that content to 3 subpages directly off of that. And then this would be that on that one subpage I have a direct link to another. Now I didn't show the link in here, I just gave you, this would be the example. And remember here, your content on here would then link directly to this page that would link to here and so on. So that's the important part, is whatever is depicted in your graph has to be the flow of information as it relates to your links as far as your pages and your topics. I hope that helps. Let me come back. Okay, so that's the concept of, I think, what I at least got a question about is how did I want to do that? And it gives you hopefully a little more information if you hadn't used Google Sites. And I can tell you there's just a ton of other information out there about sites.google.com. On the Bootstrap, all you'd have to do is once you get everything done, is just upload it and give me a link. Okay, so when you're submitting, you're really submitting three things, right? You're submitting your chart, whatever you created, your topics/subtopics flow. Remember, there's a minimum requirement of 3 navigation top level, 15 all sublinks. Okay, so that's 18 total. If you go with more major topics, you have to have more pages. Just makes sense. Okay. So I see most of you sticking to 3. That kind of makes sense. But even within those, there's pretty easy to connect other concepts with a little bit of writing. And that's what I really, when I will read this, I will read what you've written, right? And I will see how it flows to your site. Okay, so let's get back to this. So you're submitting your chart. You're submitting whatever site you use, whether it's Bootstrap or whether it's Sites. You give me a link. So the first one's a link, the second one's a link, the third one's a link. The third one is just you take all your original content, you copy and paste it into a Google Doc, and then you share that Google Doc with me. Okay, and what I will look at on that is when I run it through turnitinto.com is to make sure the content is original. If it rates 85% or higher, right, I will call that good, and you'll get all the points for that. Okay, the only thing I didn't go over here, and I don't think I need to, but in case, right, is that each page, whether you're sites.google.com or whether you're Bootstrap, has to have your content and then a link to your example. And I didn't go over that today, but I'm reminding you that it has to have 2 things for each page: a link to your heading, right, your content, and then another heading and examples of work that you did that was related to this concept. Okay, so you should be able to cut and paste stuff out of Blackboard into whatever you're using, but if you run into trouble, always remember, if you haven't done this before, when you're copying and pasting stuff from other sources, that formatting will try to follow through. So what you want to do there is you want to use something like Notepad. I do this often. I will copy something, I'll place it in a Notepad, paste it in a Notepad, and then copy it out of Notepad into wherever I'm going, and it'll clean that formatting up. That will probably be more of an issue for those of you using sites.google.com, because when you're actually in the code, when you're actually writing the code like you are in Bootstrap, you don't typically run into issues there, because it was really your editor that would, if there was an editor that allowed you to bring in that code. Most of them don't. Okay, so anyway, hope this helps you out. Thanks for a great semester. Again, I said this last time, but really I very much appreciate this. This class will be offered again a year from now. They're thinking of offering it over the summer, but I've decided against it. I just don't think it's built for a summer format. Again, of CIT85, creating websites, will be taught in the face-to-face mode with Todd McLeod. I'll be coming in and out of that class, helping as he needs help, or just adding additional interest, hopefully, level to that. So check that out. Hopefully I'll see a couple of you there. Otherwise, have a wonderful holiday break, and remember my offer. If you need between now and next week, sometime, give me at least a little bit of a heads up. We can do this hangout kind of thing, and you can share your screen, and I can give you some help where you may run into issue. Okay, have a great one. Talk